Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Marco, currently a recent graduate of Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health, and recently an October 2025 PLE passer. So, I guess licensed physician na ako. And yeah, I've been meaning to make this video for quite some time now. Actually, I've written most of this throughout the PLE review, pero syempre gusto ko muna pumasa bago ko sabihin kung anong ginawa ko. And now that the results are out, I feel much better making this video. At least now, parang I have something to back it up. Disclaimer lang before I get to the video, since strong disclaimer, everything that I will be talking about in this video are just stuff that I have been doing and I know works for me. This video is not going to tell you how to prepare, as in do all these things and it will make you pass. It's more of just sharing to you guys how I personally prepared for the PLE. And it's really just catered to how I learn best and how I've been studying since internship, clerkship, and even classroom years. So if you do come across this video and then you do think, okay, this part of the video I agree, this part not, take the part you agree with or take the part you want to try out. So as a form of baseline, I want to briefly talk about how I've been studying since the classroom years and also during clerkship and internship. Ever since classroom years, nung mas constant yung hours of studying ko, this is the basic flow I had for my day. So since YL 5, so first year to third year, ito yung pinagagawa ko. So let's say may set schedule na kami. The night before, babasahin ko na yung transcripts ng topics the following day and I'll make Anki cards out of it. Before sleeping, I also answered those same Anki cards. The next day, when I wake up, before I start on the topics, I review the cards again. And then after that, siguro mga 8 hours in a day, papanoorin ko na yung video lectures with the chances as well. And then I make relevant cards only. So kung ano man yung emphasize ng mga lectures at the time, yun yung gagawin ko naman ng Anki cards. And then at night, before I go to bed, I review yung new cards na na-review ko. But come clerkship and internship, although medyo set pa rin yung schedule mo, medyo mas regular na siya, may pre, may duty, may from, or minsan in some rotations, now that they roll out yung mga 12-hour duties, AM, PM, mga ganun. Regular pa rin naman yung schedule, pero syempre, it's not as enticing to study kasi syempre, pagdating mo galing from, gusto mo matulog, or syempre gusto mo lumabas, mag-enjoy. So medyo nagbago yung way of learning ko personally. So what I would do is, I have a running notebook lang, tickler siya na may list of things that I want to study, or kung may tinuro ang resident or consultant, susulat ko yun sa notebook na yun and then I'll make an Anki card out of it later when I get home. Or if may case ako ma-encounter for the first time, rare man siya or kahit common actually, ililista ko siya sa things tree ko. Here's another example. And then when I get the time or pag may downtime during the rotation, I read 1 to 2 topics lang. Okay na yan. Then every day, nag-Anki cards lang ako ng ginawa kong cards. Sa clerkship and internship pala, medyo heavily based na rin siya sa mga SGDs, mga conferences. So when I do come across info na I think relevant siya or very high yield, I take that down. Note that down, make an Anki card out of it. Or pag SGDs, instead of the subjective and objective part, kasi at that point, dapat medyo gamay mo na paano mag-history and PE. Ang inaaral ko at that point is more geared towards yung assessment and yung plan part. So yung didactics nung differentials, diagnostics, therapeutics, public health, mga ganun. So more geared towards case-based na talaga rather than theoreticals.
Hey guys, Editor Marco here. Alam ko medyo mahaba na yung video, pero may gusto kasi ako idagdag na part na hindi ko napag-usapan at medyo natatanong sa akin recently. Recommend ko ba na mag-aral sila during clerkship and internship? Although na-try ko mag-aral ng clerkship at internship ng boards-related stuff, yung mga basic gano'n, nakakapagod to be honest kasi sa clerkship pa lang may MBA na, may strama which is basically yung thesis ng MBA degree namin. Sinubukan ko mag-aral at the time, pero dahil bago pa ako sa mga duty hours, at the time may 24-hour duty pa kami, hindi ko na mabalance. And then sa internship naman, although 12 hours na lang, nakakapagod pa rin yung duties, and yung free time ko, I would rather just either rest or prepare for requirements ng school. Kung tatanungin mo ko ano yung i-recommend ko, study for the rotation. At yun rin ang sinasabi ng mga mentors ko nung nagtatanong ako kung ano yung i-recommend nila if mag-aral ba ako ng boards, clerkship, or internship pa lang. At honestly, yun lang rin ang may recommend ko. Maraming benefits siya from my experience. Better prepared ako sa mga rotations ko. Hindi ako lagi lost sa mga rotations. At least pag rounds, I can keep up sa mga discussions. At pagdating sa clinical subjects na sa PL review, better prepared na ako. Ang magiging example ko dito ay yung pedia rotation ko. Yun yung last rotation ko bago ako nag-start ng PLE review. Dahil sobrang nag-aaral ako for pedia during that time. So come PLE review time, tapos pediatrics na yung pinag-uusapan, madali na lang sa akin kasi medyo gamay na gamay ko na rin ang pediatrics. So, ayan. Study for the rotation instead.
To get it out of the way, the review center that I participated with, basta yung review center na kasama ko is Topnotch Medical Board Prep. I did not go pay for another service, paid for another review center. Fully nag-invest ako sa system ng Topnotch. And that was a personal choice because in my head, I didn't want to overcomplicate it by adding another review center or masyado maraming resources na hindi ko na alam mag-start. So I just fully committed to their system. Kung ano man sabihin nila, gagawin ko yun. And so far, it worked naman. If you ask me what the first step is in preparing to the PLE, okay, ako to, someone who's very habitual and regimented when it comes to scheduling, first step ko talaga is establish a routine. So at the start of the review, kasi medyo nag-overlap pa siya sa electives namin, may makeup duties pa ako at the time, wala pa akong routine at the time. But then come after rotations na, nung wala na talaga nangyayari, yun, nag-establish na ako ng routine. Ito na yung ginagawa ko every single day until PLE day 1. Yung thing sa daily routine na to is sobrang catered niya sa akin. Alam kong inaantok ako at this hour, alam kong ganitong time ako nagigising, meron akong event na non-negotiable at this time, mga ganun. Now, while I do appreciate Topnotch, ang cool kasi sa kanila, may schedule silang gagawin para sa inyo. So, 3 different pathways with 3 different schedules. Yung time mismo, hindi siya gumagana sa akin. Honestly, sorry Doc Broly, ayoko magising ng 5 a.m. Ayoko rin mag-start ng 7 a.m. na lecture ka agad. So, kinuha ko yung topics na kailangan ko matapos based sa pathway A ng Topnotch. So, sabihin natin, in Monday, kailangan tapos mo 5 topics for this subject. Kukunin ko yung 5 subjects na yun, pero hindi ko susundan yung time. Kasi minsan yung time nila, 7 pa lang tapos ka na. No, that's too early for me. So, ang ginawa ko, kinuha ko lang yung topics na kailangan ko tapusin for the day. And I made my own schedule for the day. So, yung default routine ko, kung wala akong ganap sa day, pretty much goes like this. So, I'm gonna just flash it here. Either the drawing ko or I'll flash a calendar app. So, gumagising ako usually ng 6:30. So, paggising ko ng 6:30, gagawa na akong kape, quick shower, brush. Di pa ako makain at this point. 7 a.m. to 8 a.m., mag-aaral na ako ng Anki cards ko. So, the previous day's Anki cards. Yung focus ng review na to is more of just to prime myself for the day. As in, pampagising ko lang. And yung fino-focus ko sa Anki reviews during this time is yung current subject. So, kunwari, for this next 5 days, microbio ang inaaral. Ang inaaral ko lang sa Anki reviews na to ay microbio. Hindi ko goal tapusin lahat ng cards sa 7 to 8 na to. As in, literal pampagising lang yan. Okay lang kung mabagal ako. Okay lang kung mabilis ako. Parang chill lang siya. So, next chunk naman is 8 to 2 p.m. 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Ito na yung proper time na talagang nanonood ako ng lecture videos at nagbabasa ako ng handout. You notice na kinain niya yung lunchtime. Perfectly good reason. Pag kumain ako ng 12, aantokin ako ng 1. So, ang ginawa ko, hindi na lang ako nagla-lunch. Minsan, kung di talaga kayanin, kung gutom na talaga ako, magbabrunch ako ng 10 or 10:30. Pero most of the time, sa sobrang focused ko sa pag-aaral, 2 p.m. na ako kumakain. Kasi at 2 p.m., ang deal ko sa sarili ko, drop everything, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m., break time ko na yun. Okay, maybe not drop everything. Minsan, nag-overtime ako until like 2:30. Pero basta yung 2 to 5, 2 to 6, minsan kung talagang pagod ako, break time na yun. So, I can do anything I want. So, pwede akong mag-errands, pwede akong mag-workout. Dito ako usually kumakain na ng lunch. And then, chill lang. Usually, naglalaro ako ng game sa phone ko, nanonood ako ng YouTube. Pagdating naman ng mga, sabihin natin 5 p.m. ako nag-start ulit. So, 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Yan na yung time para tapusin ko yung ibang topics or tutuloy ko na kung ano man yung hindi ko natapos ng 8 to 2. So, pwedeng lecture video yan, paggagawa ng Anki cards, anything. So basically, aral mode ulit dyan. So after that, 9 to 10 p.m. naman, tong hour na to will take up just answering Anki cards na nagawa ko throughout the day naman. So in the morning, yung 7 to 8, yan yung cards from yesterday. So 9 to 10 p.m., that's the cards from today. Well, this time, ang goal ko is tapusin lahat as much as possible. Pero kung hindi, honestly, okay lang. Mag-extend ako konti, 10-15 minutes para matapos lahat. And then, after that kasi 10 to 11 p.m. Usually yan na yung time na nagpa-practice test ako. Mga 10 to 20 items and then babasahin ko agad yung rationale. Make cards out of the rationale, yung mga namali ko, and then call it a day. So rinse, repeat lang talaga ito every single day for the past 90 to 100 days. Unless may ganap ako sa araw na yan. So the next thing I want to talk about sa daily routine naman is going to be an example of a non-negotiable event. So for me, yung non-negotiable event ko is ASMPH Ultimate Frisbee Team Training Practice every Tuesday 6 to 8 p.m. So sa Tuesday, iba yung routine ko knowing na may 6 to 8 p.m. training ako. Basically, ito yung schedule ko. 7 to 8, Anki review pa rin. 8 to 12, aral. 12 to 12:30, lilipat ako ng coffee shop malapit sa field kung saan kami nagtitrain. 12:30 to 1, kain, kape, snack, sandwich, kahit ano. And then 1 to 5 p.m., aral ulit. Mga 5 p.m. yan, nagliligpit na ako ng gamit, naghahanda na ako lumipat sa field, and then laro. Usually kasi nag-extend kami to 9, and then 9 to 10, yun na yung drive home ko. Then 10 to 11, Anki cards hanggang makatulog ako. For me, non-negotiable yung sport. I think once lang ako hindi pumunta, maybe twice, kasi nagkasakit ako. Once kasi week of PLE day 1, at kinakabahan ako sa Anat and Biochem. Pero naging non-negotiable siya for me ever since naman internship and clerkship because I just love playing. And to me, sa sobrang stress ng pag-aaral, dito ko na ilalabas yung stress ko. Yeah, after naman kasi maglaro, pag maganda laro ako, mas ginaganahan ako mag-aral. Kung pangit, kailangan ko pa rin mag-aral. Pero yeah, enjoy lang kasi talaga maglaro. So the next thing I want to talk about is just my reliance on mentors. Sa Topnotch kasi, I believe yung mga parang section heads nyo, they serve as the mentors as well. So for us, we have a Mother Goose, Doc Kirk. Thank you so much again for the love and support. And also, sa ASMPH community mismo, may mga ASMPH alumni assigned to Eagles. Eagles are what we call our board takers. And they serve as mentors, help you out mentally, physically, also how to study for the boards. I heavily relied on my mentor, si Jiro, and then bonus mentor ko si Winnie kasi close friends kaming tatlo. So if you watch my previous video, I talk about what I would ask them all the time. Kasi sobrang kulit ko sa kanila, magme-message ako, paano nyo ginamit yung oras na to, paano kayo nagpa-practice test, ano ginawa niyo the week of. So sobrang reliant ko sa mentors ko, honestly. And if you ask me personally, going into PLE blind is very scary. So buti na lang may mentors ako and my friends ako na a year ahead of me na pwede ko pagtanungan tungkol sa PLE. So after nung daily routine na yon, after ng mentors na yon, I want to talk about specific study strategies that I did to tackle the insurmountable amount of things to study for the PLE. It's 12 different subjects. Some of the subjects hindi ko na maalala at all. As in, parang bago na lang siya ulit na inaaral. Lalo na yung mga basics. Lalo na biochem. Oh my gosh, yung biochem. These study strategies that I will share, medyo general pa siya. Parang ito yung strategy na ginawa ko across all the subjects. For Topnotch, they give you a lot of resources. I loved the fact na it's all organized in their portal. And I just got everything. For a gist, Topnotch basically has lecture videos with subsection quizzes. They also have short quizzes after each subject. They call it Quizmaster. They have buzzwords, summarizes yung whole subject into buzzwords that you need to remember. May marami silang practice exams. I think around 7 per subject plus several super sample exams for legal med, preventive med, and physiology. They also have what they call Pearl Season. So ito talaga yung kung ano yung kailangan mo makuha sa topic na to, sa subject na to. Ito na yun, summarized version. They also have diagnostics, midterms, and finals exams, mostly just to gauge where you are at that point in time. And also, they have a mastery period. So parang 1 week long, review mo yung mga na-miss out mo, review mo yung malabo pa sa'yo sa past 6 subjects. So there's 2 mastery periods. Okay, so actually yun lang naman yung gusto ko i-share about the Topnotch system. So yun yung mga resources ng Topnotch na na-utilize ko fully. Medyo okok ako at saka medyo madali akong kabahan kung may hindi ako nabasa. So lahat ng sinabi ko sa inyo, binasa ko yan. Lahat ng lecture video, okay, maybe hindi lahat ng lecture videos. Lahat ng handouts, nabasa ko 2 to 3 times siguro. Lahat ng short quizzes, sinagutan ko. Lahat ng buzzwords, pinanood ko live. And yung recording, pinanood ko rin. Lahat ng Pearls A, pinanood ko. Lahat ng Pearls B, sinagot ko. Lahat ng practice exams, save for legal medicine and preventive medicine na may super simplexes. Talagang nag-buy-in ako sa system nila. Plus more pa nga kasi nga sobrang kinakabahan ako. The first thing I want to talk about this medyo specific study strategy is applying yung Pareto principle, which is the 80-20 rule. It basically means 20% of the things you do result in the 80% of the outcomes. Ano yung parang practical idea or practical application nito for me? I read all the handouts at least once and then nagpa-practice test ako to identify yung mga butas sa alam ko. So I kind of imagined the things I studied as a big circle. So as I read through the handout, watched the lecture videos, slowly but surely na-fill in yung circle. And then, sabi natin, yung naalala ko sa handout na yun, something short of the circle lang. So may malaking butas pa, and then nag-practice exam ako to test my understanding of the subject. And then with that practice test, marami pala akong hindi pa alam, which is outside the circle that I studied, at may na-realize ako na may mga butas pa sa inaaral ko, which is within the circle. Now that I identified kung ano man yung kulang pa sa akin, yun na yung aaralin ko. So slowly but surely, ma-fill in ko yung circle, practice test ulit, may mga butas-butas pa. Fill in ko na naman, babasahin ko yung rationale ng mga PTs, fill in ko na naman, rinse, repeat lang for the whole subject. So, yung na-realize ko throughout the PLE review is, hindi ko ma-memorize lahat. Physically impossible ma-memorize ang lahat. Siguro sa top 10 ng PLE yan na-memorize ang lahat. Pero ako, sure ako hindi ko kaya. So, ang ginawa ko na lang, yung kung ano man yung high yield, kung ano yung pwede kong ma-apply sa iba't ibang subjects, or yung most likely ma-test through the PTs doon ko nakita, yun yung minimemorize ko. Next thing I did was I watched the lecture videos in 1.5 to 1.75 times speed, and then I was highlighting the handouts along with the video. Minsan nagsusulat rin ako sa side in my own words, pero most of the time highlight muna sa first pass. At this point, hindi rin ako nagpo-pause, hindi ako nagre-rewind. Unless siguro sobrang nag-space out na pala ako, then I missed the whole section. Hindi ako nagpo-pause and rewind. Kasi yung time na pinopause at rewind mo, it builds up. So let's say may 1 hour video ka, ang napanood mo na 30 minutes. So okay ka na yung 30 minutes na yan. So technically 30 minutes left na lang ang papanoorin mo. But then if nag-rewind ka ng 5 minutes, technically ang matitira na sa'yo 35 minutes. So nag-extend na yan. And then nag-pause rewind ka 20 minutes, bumalik ka 30 minutes pa rin yung i-extend mo. So talagang kinakain niya yung oras sa araw ko. Kung ma-delay ako sa araw na to, ma-delay ako bukas. Ayoko rin talaga ng nababacklog. So as much as possible, hindi ako nagpa-pause at rewind sa videos. You might be asking, ano ginawa ko dun sa mga topics na hindi ko na-pause at rewind? Linilista ko lang yan. As in, may things to react ako na nandun lang lahat ng hindi ko gets or parang gusto ko pa maintindihan further after. Lilista ko lang lahat yan and then babalikan ko na lang kapag may oras ako. Again, yung aim ko kasi nung nag-aaral ako is breadth. Basta gusto ko mas marami akong alam sa start pa lang. So next thing I want to talk about is how I answer Anki or flashcards every day. Madali kasi ako mabore pag nagre-read ako ng mga handouts or books na may highlights na ako. In my head, nabasa ko na yan, gets ko na yan. And the way to avoid that for me is Anki cards. So everyday talaga nag-aaral ako ng flashcards ko. You can probably look at other videos to explain yung forgetting curve. Ayoko na pag-usapan yun. For me kasi yung flashcards everyday is just a really good way to engage myself in learning yung topic. Kasi if babasahin ko lang yan passively, honestly feel ko makakalimutan ko pa yan. Much like classroom years, na fully entrust ko rin yung pag-aaral ko or yung pag-iintindi ko sa algorithm ng Anki. So kung ano man cards ang sasabihin ng Anki na kailangan ko basahin for today, yun lang yung sasagutin ko and then I move on. Again, breadth over depth.
Hey guys, so one last added clip for the video. Hindi ko masyado na-discuss yung way ko of being able to answer a lot of flashcards or Anki cards throughout the PLE review. Brief overview lang, total number of PLE cards ko, 11,862. Medyo marami. Pero I think napasadahan ko naman lahat, at least once. Actually, ako rin nababacklogs ako pagdating sa Anki cards ko. Especially since if may focus ako na subject for the next few days, yun lang yung tatapusin ko. At kung may extra time ako and energy, saka lang ako nag-move to other subjects. Talagang nagpa-pile up yan. Kasi if yung may inad ka today, na sinasagot mo today, may inad ka pa tomorrow, na i-review mo pa yung previous day, nagpa-pile up talaga yan. So yung strategy na to, you just have to really go through it. Yung ginawa ko talaga is every day, as in tsatsagaan ko lang talaga yan. Kaya ako merong 7 to 8 a.m. na Anki session and then may, 9 to 10 p.m. Anki session ako para lang mabawasan ko yung due cards ko. And then sa mga rest days, for example, sa Sunday, I take that time to catch up on my Anki cards. Nakahabol ko ba? In some subjects, yes, nakahabol ko. Pero most of the time, hindi ko nasasagot lahat. Which honestly is fine kasi 90 to 100 days yung prep ko. So eventually, masasagot ko lahat yan. Which actually happened naman. I take advantage of the mastery periods, yung mga pearls days na walang ginagawa paggabi. So kung may free time ako, ang ginagawa ko talaga is Anki cards lang. So eventually, masasagot ko naman. Yeah.
The next thing I'm gonna talk about is something that mentors and residents would always tell me to keep doing, and that is practice tests. Lucky talaga ako na sa Topnotch may 7 practice test per subject. Nasagutan ko most of that. Siguro 2 or 3 lang hindi ko nasagutan sa buong PLE review. When it comes to practice tests, I set a goal score. Medyo mataas, 80 out of 100. Sa ASMPH kasi ang passing namin regardless is 60% ng total items. Throughout classroom years, never ko na-gets kung paano yung MPL. Di ko nga alam ang ibig sabihin ng MPL. Kahit nag-explain na si Doc Broly kung paano yung MPL, hindi ko pa rin gets. Tapos inisip ko, kailangan ko pa ng cushion between 60% at kung ano man yung passing grade. Tapos na-stress pa ako kasi dapat yung total average mo is 75%, no grade lower than 50% in each subject. Sabi ko, okay, para sure, let's aim for an 80% per practice test. Rarely ko naabutan tong goal na to. Parang siguro once a subject lang. But then, having this goal, parang naka-excite siya in a sense that every time nagpipiti ako, inisip ko, kailangan alam ko lahat ng sagot na to or kailangan sure ako sa lahat ng sagot ko dito. The way I integrated practice exams into my routine is usually I'm able to answer maybe 2 to 3 practice exams per chunk of subject. Sa schedule kasi ng Topnotch, may 4 to 5 days per subject and then my 1 day I think usually na free day siya. Pero kung wala, nag-advance ako ng lahat ng subjects para lang sa 5th day na to, ma-dedicate ko for answering practice exams. And then when I answer practice exams, lagi naka-time to. In the real PLE, 2 hours per subject yan. Pero pansin ko most of the time, nakakasagot ako ng isang practice exam, mga 45 minutes to 50 minutes. So I give myself 60 minutes. Sinasagutan ko yung buong practice exam for that whole allotted period and then i-check ko. I-check ko yung score and then I read the rationale of things I got wrong and yung mga lucky guesses ko. Hindi lang rational nung practice exam yung binabasa ko. Most of the time, binabasa ko yung sa handout na rin mismo. I think it was the perfect time to really go back and try to understand the whole item instead of kung ano man yung tamang sagot lang. Most of the time, binabasa ko yung wrong choice sa PT na mismo kasi may rational yun. Pero yung tamang sagot sa handout na mismo. Next thing that I do is I have a thing called a Restudy list. I get these from the quizzes, yung mga mistakes or yung lucky guesses ko, and sa practice exam. So it's pretty much the same thing as the list dun sa na-miss out ko sa lectures. So basically, these are just topics na either wala akong time basahin ngayon or papansin ko every PT, every quiz, ito yung topics na namamali ko. So yun, babalikan ko yan. And then, kapag napansin ko na parang more than 2 times ko na namamali sa quiz or sa PT yung topic na to, i-rewrite ko yung buong topic or gagawa ko ng mind map or i-drawing ko siya. Any form na hindi flashcard. Kasi clearly may something wrong with my understanding of it. So, isa-summarize ko yan into a table or isusulat ko lang yan sa notebook. So, the next thing I want to talk about are diagrams and mind mapping. I'm an advocate for flashcards, pero may things talaga na mahirap gawin with flashcards. And for me, that is just mapping out everything, how everything looks like. Kasi pag flashcards for me, small details ang na-memorize mo or specific tidbits, tapos hindi ko nako-connect sila lahat kasi nga each flashcard is technically separated. Ginagawa ko na lang to connect everything, I make a mind map or a diagram. So I did this with parasitology kasi hindi ko talaga ma-engrain sa isip ko kung ano yung nematodes, ano yung mga cestodes, ano yung mga roundworms. So trinowing ko lahat yan. Hindi ko rin maalala masyado yung gram positive, gram negative. So yung flowchart sa handout namin, dinunawin ko ulit yan from memory. Yung borders ng inguinal canal, dinunawin ko rin yan. Yung mga borders ng mga clavicular, yung mga occipital triangle, mga carotid dito. So it's just a different way of learning something. And honestly, it worked kasi ang naalala ko na nung testing mismo is yung drawing ko. So it's the thing I usually do when I feel lost in the weeds. Yung parang tipong masyadong nasa details na ako at nawawala na ako sa big picture. Ino-drawing ko lahat. At para lang mag-group together ko in my head kung saan nahuhulog yung mga information na alam ko. Next thing I want to talk about is something called a last-minute notebook. Doc Broly has talked about this since the start of the PLE review. Everything na hindi mo ma-memorize, na pwede mong i-commit to short-term memory, and then babasahin mo lang the day before, the night before, or on the way to the testing site. So basically, it contains lahat ng pwedeng short-term memory na lang. So for example, yung interleukins, hindi ko ma-memorize yan. Honestly, ako binasa ko na lang yan on the way to the testing site. Like I said, marathon ng PLE, wala akong capacity, wala akong brain space para i-memorize lahat ng bagay. So lahat ng kailangan kong basahin na lang on the way to the testing site, nandito na yan. Babasahin ko lang once, hopefully during the exam maalala ko na to. I tried memorizing during the subject mismo, pero honestly, hindi kinaya. So sabi ko, eto na, bahala na on the day. So the next section of this video is going to be talking about what I did days leading up to the first weekend and the second weekend. So the week of, there's something called Pearls B for Topnotch. So parang practice exam siya na may explanation. So yun, pinasadahan ko lang, sinagutan ko yung practice exam like an actual exam. Then pinanood ko yung mga videos. And then after that, kasi usually naman natatapos mo na yung videos ng subjects morning and then afternoon. At night, ginagamit ko na yung time na to one, either rest or two, round out yung topics na hindi ko pa gets. So yung list na nasa Things 3 ko, papasadahan ko lahat yun para lang maintindihan ko na siya finally before the exam. At this point rin, I ramped up my PTs. So kung before 2 to 3 na nasagutan ko, at this point dapat 2 to 3 pa masagutan ko ulit. And then babasahin ko yung rationale para lang ma-expose ako to as much types of questions as I can at this point. So you might be asking, what about the night before PLE? Honestly, kinabahan rin ako the night before. Hindi ko rin alam kung ano gagawin ko dapat the night before PLE. Pero at this point, kasi iniisip ko, dapat marami na akong baon. Marami na akong naaral. Everyday ako nag-aaral at that point. Medyo confident na ako sa sarili ko na kung ano man yung ginawa ko, dapat pumasa na ako. So ang ginagawa ko na lang dun, nag-relax, nanonood ng buzzwords videos para lang ma-remind ko sarili ko yung mga buzzwords ng mga iba-ibang disease, iba't ibang drugs sa pharma. So nag-aalat lang ako actually the night before. Nag-aalat lang ako ng, I wanna say, so 3 subjects per day. Nag-aalat lang ako ng 3 hours a night to study. Ang ginagawa ko lang 6 to 7, one subject. 7 to 8, one subject. 8 to 9, one subject. And then 9 p.m., naghahanda na ako para matulog. I made sure to sleep early and to get enough rest because I would rather be rested and ready to take an exam rather than, alam mo, puyat ako, nakakatulog ako in the middle of the exam. To be fair, nakakatulog pa rin naman ako sa gitna ng exam. Pero at least feel ko going into the testing site, rested ako and ready to go na at that point. Now I want to talk about additional resources that I and my batchmates swear by. Personally, I think you can live with fully committing to a review center. Specifically, Topnotch has a very comprehensive review program naman. So these are just additional resources talaga. They would not replace yung resources na binibigay ng Topnotch. So the first thing I want to talk about is dirty medicine. Biochem talaga yung weakness ko all throughout the PLE review. Biochem talaga yung pinakahirap na subject ko since college, since med school, and even in PLE review. So sabi ko, kailangan ko talaga ng lahat. So dirty medicine has been a good resource for me to summarize and to dumb down yung mga biochemistry subjects. Yung lecturer namin sa biochem na Topnotch, he did a really good job. Hindi ako confident sa pagkakaintindi ko. So, ang ginawa ko dito, gumawa ko ng playlist ng lahat ng dirty medicine biochem topics. And then, yung poster na binibigay ng Topnotch, yun na yung ina-annotate ko. So, lahat ng sasabihin niya, isusulat ko dun. So, I would vouch for this YouTube channel if you do have the time at medyo kinakabahan ka sa biochem. Highly recommend watching this. Pero kung may time ka lang naman. Next resource is the BRS series. Personally, Topnotch handouts and Topnotch practice exams were enough for me. But then some of my batchmates swear by BRS series. I didn't have the time to read it. Pero yung meron silang mga parang quizzes at the end of each chapter. I went through it like 1 chapter or 2 chapters sa anatomy and okay naman. Good siya if you have the time. But if you don't, okay naman yung handout and yung practice exam ng Topnotch mismo. Next resource that I'm gonna share is yung Sketchy series. I only have personal experience with Sketchy Farm and Sketchy Micro. For some reason, hindi talaga nag-stick sa akin. Ang ginamit ko yung flashcards ng Anking and yung Pepper Sketchy Anki. Really helpful kasi parang same topics lang rin yung pinag-uusapan ng flashcards sa topics namin. So, nung hindi ko talaga nagigets or parang at that point, wala akong time gumawa ng sarili kong flashcards. Ang sinasagutan ko na ay yung Anking or yung Pepper Sketchy Farm flashcards. For micro, can't really vouch for it, but some of my friends have watched it and super helpful naman daw. So, you can give it a shot if you think it works for you. Next, I want to talk about is pathoma. And added na rin yung First Aid USMLE Step 1 book. Personally, nagamit ko ang pathoma nung second year ako nung may pathology kami to supplement yung pathology lectures namin. Maganda yung book, maganda yung lectures. Medyo sabit lang sa oras kaya hindi ko napanood fully yung mga lectures. Ang pinanood ko lang kung saan ako kinakabahan the most. So yung mga hereditary diseases, yung mga genetic diseases, immune deficiencies, mga ganun. Yung book, binasa ko lang rin yung same topics. So while watching the lecture, hina-highlight ko na yung book. Same with First Aid USMLE Step 1. Very summarized. May magagandang diagrams yung Step 1. And also, mnemonics. Marami sa First Aid yung mnemonics na ganun, na maganda. Same thing actually. Ginamit ko lang ang First Aid sa biochem and sa pathology. Pero very spare lang. Kung ano lang hindi ko talaga gets at feel ko kailangan ko pa ng additional resource, yun lang yung pinuntahan ko sa pathoma and USMLE book. Last things na additional resources, Schwartz Absite Board Review and yung Harrison's Board Review. Na-recommend to ng Topnotch to supplement yung surgery and IM. Personally, na-try ko lang yung first chapters of both. Medyo iba yung level of questions nila. Sobrang kapal. I think yung mga questions pa sa IM, parang geto kakapal yung babasahin pa. Wala na akong time sa ganun. So, ang ginawa ko na lang, dumiretso na ako sa rational and explanation ng answers para lang mabasa ko yung question once and then alam ko na agad yung tamang sagot just in case they ask something similar. Okay, so that's pretty much how I prepared for the PLE. It's been a long journey. 90 to 100 days of just straight studying. I feel like I thrived honestly, but sometimes I go crazy, lalo na kung hindi tubugma yung effort ko sa PT exam scores ko. Minsan talaga ang dami mo lang binabasa, nakakapagod, nakaantok, pero kaya naman. Doable siya, very doable. Okay, so that pretty much ends this video. Hopefully you guys got something out of it. If you want to clarify something, feel ko kasi sa sobrang dami na to, hindi ko na go into detail ibang topics or ibang ideas na nasa video na to. You can always ask me down below in the comments. I reply as much as I can. If you want me to make another video, like a very specific one, comment down below pa rin. I'll try to make it while I have the time. Thank you so much for watching, and if you reach this part of the video, thank you so much. And if you're gonna take the boards, April, March, next year, October, hopefully you find this helpful. Hopefully you got something out of it. And yeah, thanks guys. Peace.